So I was just another OF girl, like another girl that was on this platform, and then probably 12 months into me doing it, I got drunk one night, went to a bar, and I got in an Uber home and had a conversation with an Uber driver and was like, "Do you know what OnlyFans is?" And I don't know what was going through my drunk head. I think I honestly, I don't know what happened, but I asked him about OnlyFans. He's like, "Yeah, I know what OnlyFans is." And I was like, "Do you wanna film something?" So we dropped my friend off at the hotel. I came back down to the Uber driver's car. He took me to an alleyway. We fucked and filmed it, and then it blew up. I posted a TikTok, and I think it got something like 10 million views. And from there, I thought, oh my god, like, random strangers and people non-industry based is it's gonna work for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. We have for today a very special guest, Kay Manuel. Kay, how you doing?
Hi, all the way from New Zealand.
All the way from New Zealand. Now, you travel quite a bit. I'm a follower of your Instagram, and I've been following your story for quite a while. You do a lot of traveling, but I guess before we get into why you do a lot of traveling, kind of give our audience like a little preview, little primer of who you are and what you do. And this will probably hook them for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. So, I guess as a whole, I'm a sex worker, OnlyFans star, escort, basically all rounder in the industry. Best known for sleeping with non-industry people, which is spring breakers, schoolies, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, all the American viewers, is like school, like once you leave school, school leavers, film content with like barely legal 18-year-olds. As well as I've done freshers, which is the equivalent of like a breaker. And yeah, just stir a lot of controversy all around the world.
You do have a lot of controversy with the stuff that you do. And I guess to start back with this, you were working once at McDonald's.
I was, yes, I was working at minimum wage, like the bare minimum of the Australian kind of wage.
And so how did you get from McDonald's to basically setting the world on fire with OnlyFans?
Um, so I was sitting in the back of my classroom before I headed to work. Mind you, I was working 30 to 40 hours a week in high school. And I was thinking, like, there has to be more. Like, there has to be more money that I can make because I'm stretching myself to my limits with studying at school and then also going to work and barely sleeping. It was like I had a disgusting sleeping pattern. Um, and I was already kind of like sending nudes and stuff on Snapchat to guys. And I'd get random guys add me on Snapchat all the time. And people started kind of offering little rewards. And then it got me thinking, like, I could make a business out of this. And I've always been very business minded, like from a young age. I'm talking like my nan had like all of these like birthday cards and anniversary cards, and I used to go around the neighborhood and sell them for like $2, just to try and make some money. So my nan would give me these cards for free, and I would just like try and get some pocket money. So I've always been very business minded. And so, yeah, the idea came around and I started selling nudes and videos of myself on Snapchat. And then just before COVID hit, I found OnlyFans, which was not popular at the time. No one was on there. It was way before it blew up. Um, and I started the site, and people found out about it. They weren't exactly happy because sex work was untalked about. And like obviously over the years we've progressed, and now you could barely find a girl that's not on OnlyFans.
Right. A lot more.
So Yeah, exactly. So I started an account and I just started going for it. So it started with kind of bikini pictures and just everyday pictures, and people were subscribing because they just wanted to see more about me and see if there was a little bit more spice. And then it progressed into nudity and pornography. And now I'm at the point where I travel all around the world to sleep with random guys for content. I don't do many industry-based people, um, just because I want my content to be more relatable. People don't want to see you with a porn star. They want to see you with an average Joe that, they could eventually fuck you one day.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's more relatable to the average viewer.
Yeah, exactly right.
So what is the lifestyle turnaround from that? Because like you said, minimum wage at McDonald's, 30 to 40 hours a week. I'm assuming that's not providing like the most luxurious living.
Absolutely not.
And
No.
then when the only fan I'm assuming when COVID happened, is that when business picked up for you on the site?
Yeah, business did pick up. Looking back at it now, it wasn't the biggest pickup financially. For me at the time, I went from making like a couple of grand a month to, I was making probably around the same, if not a little bit more, but for a lot less work
Yeah,
at the time because it was just posting. We were in COVID, and in Australia we were locked down. We couldn't leave our houses,
right.
so I was working from home, taking random pictures in my bedroom and around the house, without having to go run around at McDonald's and literally work all these hours. Now it's progressed and it's a lot bigger money. Obviously, because my name's in the media, I've now got a big social media presence, which I didn't have before, and I've grown that over the years. Um, so now I'm kind of reaping the benefits of continuing to work hard, and I am just continuing to push. Like I'm not satisfied with the amount of money I'm making. I will never be until I'm retired at 60, 67, like 70 years old with properties and everything behind me because I'm trying to build a life.
Right. I mean, and that makes sense because like if you're young, you got ages on your side right now, and there is a I always say there's a niche for everything in this industry, but you definitely do have a window for a certain audience. And I think right now you've captivated that in what you do. What led you to work with like you said, the schoolies or the young people as opposed to somebody in the industry? And I guess the second that I'm assuming that's better financially because a lot of times you don't have to share the revenue with anybody. Another star is going to want part of the revenue of that.
Right. So what blew me up to start with, I was just another OF girl, like another girl that was on this platform, and then probably 12 months into me doing it, I got drunk one night, went to a bar, and I got in an Uber home and had a conversation with an Uber driver and was like, "Do you know what OnlyFans is?" And I don't know what was going through my drunk head. I think I honestly, I don't know what happened, but I asked him about OnlyFans. He's like, "Yeah, I know what OnlyFans is." And I was like, "Do you wanna film something?" So we dropped my friend off at the hotel. I came back down to the Uber driver's car. He took me to an alleyway. We fucked and filmed it, and then it blew up. I posted a TikTok, and I think it got something like 10 million views. And from there, I thought, oh my God, like, random strangers and people non-industry based is it's gonna work for me. And so from then on, I started doing guys from Tinder and like everyone wants to fuck. So, and they're all okay with filming it. It just depends on the level of filming that they're okay with, whether they're okay with having their face in it, um, what they want to do, if it's just like a 30-second clip. Um, yeah. And so it's just progressed into then schoolies, which schoolies, yeah, as I said, is like school leavers all around the country, and they'll go to specific locations to party
Right.
and celebrate leaving school. I live in one of those hotspots. It's called Surfers Paradise in the Gold Coast. Amazing place. You have to visit. And I was walking around. I was like, "What is going on? Why is there so many like just younger people here? Like, generally, it's family. It's like a lot of families, a lot of like Asian tourists. Um, just a big hotspot for everyone, really." And then I realized that it was the schoolies. 2 weeks of schoolies. It's like, ew, this is so annoying. Like they're just gonna be running havoc, drunk, doing all of this. And I was like, how do I monetize? I can monetize off this. So I rang up one of my friends. You might have seen her in the press, Bonnie Blue.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I said to her, like, we should start filming the schoolies. So we put out a few TikToks. We walked around with cards. We put it on our social media, and we're like, "Come and fuck us." And as long as it's filmed, we don't give a fuck. And it blew up from there. So we did it the first year, and it blew up. We were on TV, we were on radio, people were talking about it. But this second year that we did it, because we had 12 months to grow all our socials and plan it out properly, it blew up. Everyone was talking about it. Like, every news article, TV stations, podcasts all around the world. They're wanting us to actually go and appear on TV for sleeping with these barely legal, as the media wanted to portray it, teenagers.
Jesus. I mean, but I can see where that is an appeal though, to like people fresh out of school. Do you have a lot of people that don't want to have their face shown? They just want the experience. And I'm assuming by that
Yeah,
you just shoot neck down.
yeah. A lot of them don't want it. It really depends on what I'm shooting to, if I require their face in it. So for the schoolies, I can understand that they are like a couple of years younger than me. So I'm 22 and they're freshly 18. And at the time I was 21. So there's not a big age difference, just by the way. People think that I'm like 40. I'm not. um, um, so with them, I don't require a face. But say I'm currently here in Auckland filming. Anyone that wants to come and fuck me and film it, their face is going to be in it. Like people have to subscribe and then pay for the video in order just to see their specific individual video. So the likelihood of anyone subscribing and watching their video is very, very low.
Right. It's not like
Considering I'm from
free.
right. Yeah, no, I don't post too much on Pornhub. If I do, it's something just random. But
Yeah. Do you have contracts for this?
yeah. So they sign a media release form, which allows me to reproduce and monetize and make money off the content that's made. My one rule with everyone is that I won't post, if their face is in it, I won't post their face on social media. So anything I post on Twitter, I'll just make sure that either I blur their face or I crop it out or use a part that isn't in there. But for the actual video that I sell, I use the face, because when someone's face is blurred or not in the video, people are like wanting face. But once it's in there, they don't give a fuck. Like they like, oh, okay. Like they don't even think about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Do you have to? I'm assuming you ever had anybody try to do it that wasn't 18?
No, I haven't yet. I mean, I've had messages from people, but in terms of like their IDs, no. And I wouldn't be able to post the content if they were underage too, because you've got to send in all the documents to the platforms themselves, and they've got very good.
Oh, okay. So you have, if someone agrees to do it, they have to like make a copy of their ID and all that to allege prove their age. Okay. Okay.
So
All
they
right.
have to hold their ID next to their face. I take a picture. I have to take a picture of their ID. I have to take a picture of the signed document that they've signed, like the document they've signed. And then they've also got to hold ID and the document right next to their faces in real time, so that the platforms know that this is them that have signed the form. So that, yeah, it's all legally done. There's a lot that goes into the process.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because you want everything above board, because the last thing you want to do is have anybody that's underage sneaking in there trying to do something, and that'll just fuck everything up.
Dude, it would. And I would find it disgusting too. Like if I found out that I'd slept with someone underage, like yuck, no thanks.
I've got this one. I interviewed him when he was 17. He's got his own podcast, and he's interviewed a lot of cool people, a lot of military people, like whistleblowers for the government. Like he's interviewed some really cool people. YouTube host that has like millions of subscribers. Like he's probably like the smartest 17-year-old kid I ever interviewed. And we talked for like 2 hours. And he called me the other day and he was asking, because I've interviewed quite a few girls from the adult film industry. And he was asking me about a few of them, and he hit on one. Her name was Alex Lynx, and he was like, "You think I can get in contact with her?" He's like, "I'm 18 now, so I can do that." And I was like, "You know what? Sure, I'll see what I can do." He wanted to drive that home. He's like, "I'm 18 now. I'll be able to. I can talk to her." I'm like, "All right, hopefully I can get you two together." But it's I mean, because I started watching porn in a early age, a lot earlier than I probably should have,
Yeah.
because I had what was called back in the day a black box, and it was basically like it got your cable, your pay-per-view channels that you were supposed to pay for, but we didn't have to pay
Mhm.
for. And then at nighttime, you had like two main channels back then. It was only two pay-per-view channels. One showed your sports and all your mainstream movies, and then the other one showed like B movies, Cinemax movies. And at nighttime, it would show like I would classify it as softcore type stuff. But I was watching that
Interesting.
at like very, very young age, man, way earlier than I probably should have. So I was like introduced to that a lot. And everybody wanted to stay at my house because they wanted to watch it. I was like, "Oh, we can go to his house. He's got those channels at nighttime." So I was introduced at, like I said, a very young age. So were you sexual at a young age?
I started masturbating at like 10 years old. I think it
Damn,
was just trying, yeah, I was just trying to like find myself. Like,
I
I don't
think
know, I just discovered it and I was like, oh, this like is a weird feeling. And like, it wasn't even like a pleasure feeling at the time. It was like that's kind of weird. And then it just progressed and I was like, oh, that's pleasurable. Like that's fun. And then I just started doing it like every day and I was like, oh,
so. You
and so
found it on your own though. You didn't see anything or see a magazine or anything like that. You just found.
no. Yeah, and then I then found out about porn, because I went to a private, well, you guys call it elementary school, I think,
Yeah,
like grade like 1 to 5.
yeah, or
Yeah.
yeah,
So
elementary school. Yeah,
yeah. So around that time, I was in a private school, and then I moved to a public, like government school,
yeah.
and I started hearing about all these new terms like Pornhub, and I was like, "What is this?" And then went onto it, and that's where I really discovered like sex.
Yeah.
And people were talking about it at school, and I was searching up all these videos, and it, yeah, I think around like 11 or 12, I was on porn, like watching porn.
See, I can't say anything because I was about that age when I was watching it too. So,
Yeah, look, I started having sex quite young, so
how young, if you don't mind me asking?
I was 14.
That's actually not too bad. I think that's the. I feel like now it's earlier for people because it's so accessible. Like I said, when I was coming up, you had your movies like VHS tapes. I don't know. You're 22, so I don't know if you
No,
remember
I know. Yeah.
that stuff. But like you had those and you had magazines and you had the channels that I was talking about. So it wasn't everywhere. It wasn't like in your face. And this was pre-internet. So you couldn't just pull
Mm,
up pictures or videos or anything like that. So I feel like because it was a little bit more secretive, people probably waited a little bit longer. But nowadays, man, it's so in your, like, anybody with a cell phone can pull up anything they want. And I feel
right.
like it introduces people to that world a lot earlier now than they did, 20 years ago.
Yeah, and like even I paid for billboards all around Australia with my face on them and my domain, which is like onlyk.com. So it was this big billboard in the major cities of Australia, and it was just my face, my name, and my domain. And so anyone that like searched it up, you'd see everything about me. So like that's just even adding to the whole accessibility side of things of porn and sexual content.
That's kind of ingenious. They didn't have a problem with you putting that on the billboard, or they didn't care as long
Um,
as you're paying.
So, so it goes to a government body, which approved it because there was no direct sexual content on the billboard. It
Ah,
was I was completely covered. I didn't even have like cleavage showing like this. Like it was very conservative.
right.
But you got the message. Like you definitely got the message. There was no problem with it until the whole schoolies time came around. Then I changed the billboards and still completely covered, but I did a photo shoot, um, dressed in like a teacher's outfit, glasses, and there was like he's actually older than me, 25-year-old guy in front of me, sitting down at a desk shirtless. looking like I'm the teacher and he's the student, and so it gave the whole fantasy of, oh, this is for schoolies.
Yeah.
So all the schoolies saw it and were hitting me up to film, and there was obviously all the Karens that had a huge problem with it, and it ended up getting removed, which was, I don't understand how, because like
And
they were saying it's pornography.
yeah, you had to pay what, monthly for that?
Yeah, it cost me about 20,000 Australian, which is probably around 16,000 American, 15, 16,000 American a month.
Month? But I'm sure that paid for itself in revenue.
It did, and people were knowing my name. I was getting messages from friends being like, "Oh my god, I'm down in Melbourne." Like I live in the Gold Coast, so it's like up here, and like Melbourne's like down here. I was getting messages from people in Melbourne being, "Oh my god, I just saw your billboard. Like you're getting famous," and I was like, "I'm not famous. I had to fucking pay for them." But like, it's nice to know. It's nice to know that you've seen them and they're getting around. It means they're working.
Now, I'll mention this too because you build up a big platform. What's your Instagram up to now?
170,000, but I've got like 52 Instagrams.
Right. And then you
Yeah.
were hacked recently, right?
Uh, I've been hacked. I've been extorted. I've had like literally 2 days ago, I was extorted for money over Instagram, but I
And
was
see,
also hacked. Yeah.
and see, this is part of the game that people don't know, and I don't think they associate with what you do. And so that's one of the reasons when I actually reached out to you, we had been in contact before, and I knew you were busy, so I didn't want to blow you up. But I seen where you said all your socials have been hijacked, so I threw you a name of a friend of mine that I know that was, had a contact with somebody that was good at getting those back, and we kind of went back and forth, and that's kind of how we got to this episode. But explain what happened with the socials as far as them did they hold them ransom? Did they want money? What was the deal with the socials?
Yeah. So the first one, I was hacked just before Christmas. Literally like 10 days before I flew to the US, and then I got to fly to the US with my family. But somehow someone had got a hold of my email password and was able to get into my emails. I was laying there on the couch watching Netflix, and I got a notification being like, your password's changed to my link tree. And I was very confused because like it's just a link tree, like what? So I went in and I tried to like log in, and it wouldn't let me log in. I was like, okay, that's weird. I'll just make a new one. Like I don't know what the fuck's going on with that. I'll just contact the support and go through whatever. And then I let it go for half an hour, and I started getting notifications, like email notifications for everything. Like passwords being changed for this, passwords being changed for that. Was this you logging in? I was like, what the fuck's going on? And I was like, there's one thing that like that's all like in common. It's my fucking email. And I was like, fuck, I need to go change my email because someone's in my email. Went to the settings, and I got through to the very end where you click like save or apply to change the password, and it just instantly logged me out. And I was like, no, my heart sank because I had this email for 7 years. Like I've had this email for so long, and with Yahoo Mail, you can connect a lot of different emails all to the one, and
Yeah.
that's what I had. I had every single email that I've ever had connected to this Yahoo account. So they logged me out, and I was trying to contact Yahoo. I was like, what the fuck do I do? I had a recovery email on Yahoo, and this hacker had removed it, but knew that I would be accessing that email. So sent me emails to that recovery email being like, I've got everything, I've got control. You dumb slut. Like literally I've got all of these emails, and it was an email thread for about 4 or 5 hours of this hacker just going back and forth. And I was like, what? I was crying. It felt like I was in it for like 20 minutes, but it was hours. He ended up requesting $30,000 worth of Bitcoin. I don't do crypto, and I was never going to pay that amount of money. But I had my passport, my license, my MyGov details, which in Australia connects you kind of to everything, your tax, your just basically everything all in the one hub. Had all my social media, passwords, everything, banking details, literally enough to take over my whole identity and be able to create credit cards and streams of whatever. Like whatever they wanted to do, he could have done. Um, I refused to pay him. I cancelled basically everything, froze my bank accounts. Um, I had to put a hold on my credit line, so like anyone that was applying for anything under my name, it wouldn't go through. Um, and this was just days before I was supposed to fly out. So I was thinking, oh my god, like, do I need to apply for a new passport? And like, what's the go? They basically said, look, your passport to travel is pretty fine. Like, even if he has those details, it's more about the credit. That's what they're wanting money at the end of the day. So they're
Yes.
going to try and open credit lines. So by you going to another country, you should be fine. We wouldn't recommend it, but like if you've got it booked and you're going in a few days, then like
Well,
just go and change everything when you get back. Um, and Yahoo ended up making contact with me finally and changing everything for me. So I had to do like a video ID of myself, like holding my ID and like a video saying the date and my full legal name because they had access to be able to just send through my passport and everything. So they needed something in real time. And I'm just lucky that this person didn't have access to some AI generated tool to be able to do that because that will happen soon, I'm sure.
yeah.
Um,
With the advancements of technology always comes with the people that are going to use it in nefarious ways. As much good as the advancements in technology are, and as much as beneficial as they can be, there's always going to be that person that can use it for bad.
yeah, and I didn't give him a cent, but he threatened to post all of my everything that he had found on some dark website, and he sent me the link to it. It's like docs something.net, and I clicked on it, and I saw, all of these hackers like releasing all these details, like even just one of the subject line was 17-year-old slut post her nudes everywhere. Like it was absolutely putrid. And a couple of days later, I thought, oh, I might be in the clear here. Like I've gotten access back to everything. I've changed it all. Like maybe he was bluffing. And no, got an email saying, "You dumb idiot!" Like I posted it, and he sent me the link, and literally to the point of like my home address, my mum and dad's names, my mum and dad's addresses, my grandparents, everything, the equivalent of like your social security number, that was all leaked online, and it's still up online to this day. So I've had to get everything changed.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. What a
And
f-
I've gone to the extent that I've had to move like where I live,
no,
like
I
my
don't,
address.
I don't blame you because, like, I mean, given the nature of what you do, you're always going to attract people that are not 100% right
Right,
upstairs. It's just kind of it's the cost of doing business, I guess, if you will.
right.
And you're gonna meet those people that think that there's something there outside of the business arrangement that is, and it's dangerous. So for him to leak that, and not only that, with you, you also have to the opposite of that people that don't like what you do. And for somebody that could go to the extent of taking it out on your family. So that's very fucked up that they would do that.
Yeah, and then like 48 hours ago, I had paid a hacker 6.5 grand to recover two of my Instagram accounts, which were disabled for God knows what reason, probably just sexual content.
Yeah.
Um, and he told me he never received the money. I called the bank and I was like, what's happening? They're like, he's received the money. Came back to me and was like, no, I've got the money, but you're going to send me another $4,400, or I'm going to close all of your social media accounts, every single last one of them. You make another one, I'm closing it. So he extorted me for more money. I was literally sitting in this hotel room because it's that recent. I was crying. I was like, what do I do? Like, I can't call this man's bluff. Like, this is my livelihood. Not only is it my livelihood and like income streams, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on just building it up through photo shoots, through just everything that I do. It's my whole life is on this one particular Instagram, which has nothing to do with sex work. It's the main one that you follow.
Yeah.
Um, and so I ended up sending the $4,400, and because I was like, I can't risk his bluff. And he was very nice to me afterwards. I went to bed, woke up the next morning. I was like, so are we getting my Instagrams back now? And he was like, so one thing, and I was like, oh, here we go. He's like, you will send me another $4,000, or you will send me friends of yours that I can close their accounts, and they will pay me to get it back. So he's just wanting more and more and more. I just said, I was like, look, I can't do this to anyone I know. This is actually really fucked up. Um, and I just had to call his bluff. I don't have any more money to give you. Like I do, but wrapped away in other things. I'm not gonna fucking touch that money. Like if I'm gonna have to rebuild, I'm gonna have to rebuild. It's just at the
Right.
end of the day, I can't. Um, and I called his bluff, and I haven't opened his last message. It just said, I think the little preview it just says, "Have you posted anything to degrade my business or something?" And I was like, I just haven't opened it, but I've blocked him.
Well,
Um,
that's what you need to do. You need to combat that with your following that don't fuck with this guy, or he's just going to ask for more money and not give you what you need.
Yeah, well, I've sent it like a big message out to a lot of the industry girls because that's who he's targeting, the industry, not like everyday people. Because I think that these hackers know that the Aussie girls will spend the money to get their accounts back. The American industry as a whole, I don't think they make a huge amount of money compared to the Australians. The Australians make a lot more on OnlyFans, I think, than the Americans. So
Why
like
is
the
that? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think because there's such a big porn industry in the US, so a lot of girls turn to studio porn, whereas we don't have a studio porn over here. So we're relying solely on OnlyFans, and um, I don't know. We just tend to do a lot better. There is still girls on OnlyFans in America that do amazingly, but I think
Right.
as a whole, like we are one of the biggest creator
What if you opened up
things.
your own studio?
Hmm.
Are you happy
Not
with
for
what you
me.
not for you?
I'm happy with doing what I'm doing now, and there's just so many legal ramifications, and like, you're opening yourself up to be sued, like by a lot of things. So you need to go through the legal stuff and, production teams and setting it all up and websites and gaining an audience. And I just, at this point, no. Like I'm happy filming my own content and getting to travel the world. I think maybe when I settle down, I could be something that I look into in the future. But like you can't compete with a website like Brazzers.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's typical with the American women, especially. That's typical with the trend that they follow. Like they come into the business, they make a big splash if they're lucky, because it is very saturated. And so
Mm,
make a big splash in the market, then they tend to go on more towards of the directing and their own studio, their own filming studio, whatever. Jenna Jameson was one that come to mind years ago. It was before the OnlyFans and stuff, obviously, but she made like a huge splash in the porn industry.
mm,
She was like the it girl for a while. And then she went on to, run her own studio and then, have girls up under that. That's usually like the progression if the girls want to continue in that industry. Some girls get in, make their money and get out and you don't hear from them again.
mm. I see the progression of this industry. That content creation, I guess it will always be around, but I think it's going to lose a lot of interest in the next 12 months in terms of adult content. Um, Within Australia, I see a lot of OnlyFans girls and girls that do content in general moving to escorting and doing full service work. Even myself, I like I think I'm now 12, 16 months of doing part-time escorting because I've made this name for myself now. So everyone wants to see me in person, and that's the number one question you get asked on these platforms: can we meet up? And you can't say anything. And in Australia, it's legal, so we have ad sites where you can go onto a website. There's a bunch of pictures, profiles, and you click on one, and it will give you the description of the girl, what they've written about themselves, their terms and conditions, their rates, what they actually include in their service. So you might want a golden shower. I don't know. And it will say if a girl provides that, if they're happy to do a golden shower on you. Um, so I found that a lot of the girls doing content have moved over to that side. And then all of like the seasoned escorts that have been around for 10, 15 years, things are starting to dry up a little bit for them. They've still got their clientele that they've had for years, but new clientele are going to people such as myself, and so they're jumping over to the content side a little bit and trying to just diversify themselves within the industry because the money's not exactly there for them now.
Yeah.
There's still money for everyone because there's so many different niches. Like some people might not like dark hair, they might not like fake lips and lashes, like might not like fake boobs. They might like natural girl. Who knows? But that's the progression I'm seeing.
Diversification is definitely the key, especially in this, industry. You have to keep it fresh with new ideas. I think the idea that you have, or the niche that you're working with, the schoolies, is perfect. Though I think that's going to be, if you can have the one thing that there's never going to be a shortage of, then you can milk that for as long as you're always going to have kids graduating. So that's going to be a never ending supply of kids. And you're always going to have kids that are probably fond of getting involved in a situation like that.
Yeah. And I get messages from 17-year-olds all the time saying like, oh, I can't wait for next year, like next year schoolies, like we're waiting. And obviously you can't respond to them because that would be classed as grooming, right? So you got to be really, really careful of shit like that when you're dealing with who I'm filming with. But like I do see the messages come through and I'm like, wow, like, it's now it could become a rite of passage to kind of do stuff like this because there's girls jumping on the trend now. So it started with myself and Bonnie Blue. Yeah. We added another girl. Well, I didn't add Bonnie did it with another girl. Her name's Annie Knight. She's quite well known around the world now too. She's Australia's most sexually active woman. So I think that as time goes on, girls are going to see how lucrative this is. A lot of them hated on it because they didn't think of it first, or they didn't know how to do it, or they just didn't jump on in time. So as next year, I think we're going to have a lot of influx of girls starting to do this type of stuff.
No, I agree with that. I think it's a very cool idea, but it's especially going to be catered to you right now because of your age. It's going to be prime. And I mean, don't get me wrong. There's ages for that of women that are in their late 30s and 40s to still do that. That's, you have the whole student teacher aspect that you can play off of, which is, that'll never go out of style.
Yeah, and people were up in arms about it, but we see, like I've talked about it time and time again, that schoolgirl and barely legal like girl has been for centuries promoted in porn. They get these little girls that they could be like in their 30s, but they're tiny. They're like 5 foot, and I'm 5'9", so like I don't know, there's a comparison, but like these girls are getting hired and booked specifically because they look like young girls, and they're dressing them up as young as they can, and then putting them on show, and it's promoting that whole schoolgirl thing. So when the tables were turned, everyone was up in arms about it. But I'm like, it's been happening for years. It's just like the idea of it has been happening.
So you don't know if that, and I'm sorry to jump back off the subject, but you don't know if that guy gave you your Instagrams back yet? You haven't opened his last message?
No, he definitely didn't. I've logged in and stuff, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet.
You have a backup account, don't you? Because that's one thing I see with a lot of people is when they start to get a pretty big following on social media, they'll go ahead and create like a backup account in preps of that one going down. Not only for things like what happened with you, but if Instagram decides to crack down on what you're doing, what you're posting, because I know y'all kind of have to ride the line, but if they do smack it, then you got a backup account already set up that a lot of times people are following.
Yeah, I've got like 50 different Instagrams. It's not particularly about the following that I have on those accounts or the content that's been posted on that particular account that's gone down that I wanted. It was the connections that I have through that account. So I've been messaged by a lot of people that, I don't know, have some sort of influence or I would like to keep contact with, I would like to say. So like by me paying for the Instagram back, I'm realistically paying for those contacts.
Yeah.
It's just people I never thought that I would be able to communicate with that have messaged me, like reality stars and footballers. And I'm like, Oh, I kind of want that. Like, want that back. Like, I had an NFL star that I met, and I'm like, oh, I would like to keep in contact with him.
American NFL star?
Yeah.
Oh boy. We can't name drop, can we?
No, we can't name drop. I never actually signed an NDA with him, but I'm not a bad person.
No.
He came to Australia, and I just matched with him on Tinder, and then we ended up seeing each other. So it wasn't like it's not like a big exclusive, like, oh my God, like this happened, but like, it's just nice to keep in contact with the people that you're like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Can we say the team?
I don't know that. You know what? I actually don't know the team. He told me, and I did look it up. That he has played for the Super Bowl.
Really?
Yes. Okay, here we go. Um, okay, no, it tells me the education, but who did he play for? Oh, maybe he didn't go to New York Jets. But I feel like he played for multiple teams, and that's not the team that I remember him telling me.
Yeah, because the Jets ain't been in the Super Bowl in quite a while.
NFL.com. It tells me his college, his weight, his height. It's a red. It's a red. It's got a red like jersey, but it's like red and white.
So that could be Arizona Cardinals. That could be Kansas City Chiefs.
No, I don't think it was the Chiefs. Wait.
Look at the Chiefs.
Wait. Okay.
A bunch.
Just like does that give you?
That's the Chiefs. That's the Chiefs. They might be playing at it again.
Oh no, he's done, I believe.
Oh, he's retired?
He's done. Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Yeah. But no, he was a fun time. Really respectful.
Do you get hit up by a lot of Americans?
Yeah, well, I'm American. Like I'm like not born in America, but I frequent the US all the time. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of US DMs, like a lot of reality TV stars, I think, and not really many like athletes because they can't risk it. Like there's girls out there that will actually destroy lives. Like they'll make you put a baby in them and like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That was all.
Yeah. So they're pretty. I feel like they're pretty safe.
What is so right now you're going to ride this wave that you're on. Do you have any idea of what's next? Because I think that's the key of anything when you're your own content creator. So like I do this podcast and I always have to be thinking about the next guest or what I want to do next or what direction I want to take the show. You are obviously in a completely different industry, but it's the same thing. You got to be thinking, all right, well, when the schoolies thing maybe runs its course, what do I do next? What's the next project? Or have you thought much about that?
Yeah, so since schoolies, about I think it's like maybe 3 weeks ago, I hosted 100-man gangbang. So that was kind of my next big project. Now I didn't get to 100, I got to 57. And it was just because I didn't have enough time to promote it. Like I didn't, and it was at a location that was just probably not where everyone wanted to go. It was a brothel. I don't know if you know what a brothel is.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was at a brothel, which probably didn't help. Like it would have been best for me to get an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Because like people don't want to be known to like be spotted at a brothel. So I think the 100-man gangbang is kind of like my next thing. It's been done already by Lily Phillips, if you know of her. And Bonnie Blue's just done 1,000 Men, but I'm looking at my own kind of career, and as time progressed, things get more. So I started with like bikini pictures, and then I got into nudity, and then I got into pornography, and then like with the porn, I started off really slow and soft to now I'm doing gangbangs and orgies and all of this type of stuff. So I want to do the 100 Men and then keep progressing. I don't want to just go, oh, well, Bonnie's done 1,000 men. I need to do 2,000. I don't even know if I would be able to do 2,000. Like, I don't know if my body would give out. I don't know.
That's what this is in a 24-hour period or what?
Yeah.
So what consists of a one? Like number one, what does that consist of? Is it like a time limit? They don't go to you got some guys that can go, like you be there all fucking night.
No, I know that's the most annoying part. No, I believe like with the Guinness World Records like guidelines, it's like they have to penetrate you like twice.
Okay, that's it.
And then they can get out. So like you've got a couple of like you've got like 30 seconds per guy. So you just got to have them lined up, ready to go. They just have to get themselves hard, put themselves inside you. But for the gangbang, I kind of just let everyone have like 45 seconds to a minute, because it starts to get very tiring. And like when you're just standing in, like say you're in like doggy, like you can only be in doggy for so long, and like they're just putting it inside you. You're like a little doll.
Yeah. I interviewed a girl that broke the world record the second time it was broke. She was in the industry in the early 90s. Her name was Jasmine St. Clair. And I talked with her a little bit about it. And she said it was very like smoke and mirrors. A lot of them were repeat guys. So it wasn't as full as it seemed to be. But this was the early days. Like they advertised on radio for doing
right.
This was like,
and also it was not as talked about. Like sex was a bit taboo.
Right.
So no, I definitely know with all of the stuff that's been happening lately, it's all been 100% done. They've been signing consent forms because it's all posted on social on OnlyFans. So if people want to actually see and count, they 100% can. So that's why I wouldn't lie about doing 100. I just said, look, I did 57 and I didn't get to get to the 100 because people could count that.
So if you were to do it again, you would do Airbnb, maybe promote it a little bit better, get about a couple of months promo time in there to promote for it. Is that what you would do different?
Yeah, I think I would do a ticketed event. I think I'd make them do like a $25 to $50 kind of like deposit, or like pay for it, just so that if they pay for it, they're kind of like more inclined as like a deposit to come and show up.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's free, like they could just be like, oh no, I'm not going. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have pussied out. But if they paid for it, they go, oh, I have paid a little bit of money for it. And $25 to $50 for some people is a fuck ton of money. Like everyone works different jobs. Like so, yeah, that's probably what I would do differently.
And you want to do the 100 first?
I want to do the 100 and progress from there.
And 1,000 is a fucking lot, man. You're gonna be there a long time.
I know. Look, I haven't even decided if I'm gonna do it yet. Like I've got to brace myself, because
there's got to be a middle road between 100 and 1,000. You got you got to do an intermediate number in there.
And you've got like so many different sized dicks around the world. So like, even though I sleep with a lot of people, my pussy is very tight. Like one finger is enough for me. So I think it will have to go between both holes. Like one and then the next one and then up.
Does the body give out at some point? Like I heard you earlier, you phrased it, get like the body give out. What gives out?
I feel like it would just be my legs, like tighten up, and like, because you're in the one position, right?
Yeah.
So you could be in that position for a while. Because even in like a missionary, right? You can change, but just like you know how tiring sex is. Sex is really tiring.
Oh yeah.
Like personally, I would only like to do 1 or 2 rounds, and penetration for me to be good is like 10, 15 minutes.
That's about average, I would think.
Yeah, but some guys love to go for hours. And as soon as they say, oh, I can fuck you for hours, I'm like, next.
I think that's like the guys want to do that.
They think that that's what we want.
Yeah. But a lot of them can't, though.
A lot of them can't. And there's so many guys around the world, because porn, I guess, has programmed people's minds that bigger dicks are better. when realistically, like I'm being dead honest when I say it's not about the dick size. Like, give me someone that's 6 to 6.5 inches. Ah, perfect. Like you're gonna do the right job for me. And if you don't know how to fuck properly, that's fine. I'll do it for you. But that like I'll get on top and I'll know how to move in the right spaces to make me feel good.
We had Ryan Connor on the show not too long ago, and she's an OG in the business. I think she was at that top 100 we were talking about off air. She had been in the industry for a while, from the 90s or the 2000s. She took like a 10-year break. She come back, still like, a big, huge name. And we were talking about like the dangers of the guys in that industry of taking like Viagra and Cialis on a daily use, because your body gets adapted to it. So like, for somebody that don't take that all the time, if they took a Viagra or a Cialis over a weekend, like, they'll be able to have a good time. But if
Mm.
you take it every fucking day, your body's going to get used to it, and then it's no
Yeah,
longer going to work.
they also use the injections
That's what
as
she
well,
said
which
it goes
I
to.
find crazy. Like, I'm glad that I don't have to do anything besides really like spread my legs. Like, I don't have to get hard. Like,
Yeah.
just spread.
No, it's insane, because like, you think, if especially if a guy's in his 20s and like you get acclimated to Viagra or Cialis or whatever it is, and then you have to go to injectables, and they're not like 100% foolproof. And that's what she said. She's seen guys just like totally ruin their shit that they're working with,
Mm,
to the point where
mm.
they can't even use it no more. That's dangerous shit.
Well, it's hard because you're not always attracted to whoever you're working with,
Right.
and you're also just not always horny. I mean, obviously, there's guys out there that might not need to take it, but sometimes you just need to get that little extra, like,
Yeah. Have you ever had to do it where you're just been not in the mood, but you needed to do it for content?
every day, every day.
But you're not in the mood to do it every day? You are.
Look, I wish I could say that I wanted to do it every day, like for my brand, so people think that I'm this complete fucking slut, and that's how my brain's wired. But I genuinely would rather a snuggle in bed than fucking all these dudes all the time. I had someone film with me the other day, and at the end of it, just before he left, he was like, "So do you enjoy this?" And I really wanted to lie, and I was like, "No, I didn't really want to do that." And he's like, "Oh, so you didn't enjoy it?" And I was like, not really. I felt bad because I feel like I kinda, like, made him feel bad about it, but I was like, "Well, this is my job. Like, I'm a hard worker. Like, I'm gonna continue to do this, and this is the job that I chose, so I'm not gonna complain about what I'm doing. I'm here to make money, and that's what I did, and I wanna make sure that you had a good time, so I didn't say anything at the but you asked the question, so
Yeah.
I answered it."
The one thing that I think always is a question, and I think sometimes if you're in this mode, if you're in this process you're in right now, of what you're doing, how you're going to make your money, how your brand is going, does that completely cut off the door for any sort of private relationship?
Um, to be completely honest, and I've spoken about this as well, any man that I'm gonna want is not gonna want me.
Yeah.
So I want a masculine man. I want someone that is a protector, is just like kind of set in the old values. And a man like that is not going to want a porn star or anyone that has done what I do for work. So I've kind of accepted that. Like, yes, someone might come along and I'm always going to be open to it. But I'm like, that my dream man would never. Would never, and yeah, so I'm content with being alone for now, and I think that once I finish up in the industry, then I will look for that. But, if it comes, don't get me wrong,
But
but
I got a feeling that there's had to be people throw their name in the hat for that, because seemingly people have it in their head that that's a great idea to be with someone that's in the industry. And I've had girls tell me this that I've had on, people think it's a fun idea. Oh, I'm dating, a porn star or whatever, but then they realize that they have to go to work, and they leave on a
mm,
Thursday and they're gone, and they've been shooting all day. And then when they get home that night, they're tired and they don't feel like doing anything with them. And they're like, well, you've been doing it all day. And
mm.
it's not as cool as it sounds once you get in the middle of it. But I'm assuming you've had to have guys throw their name in the hat of somebody that would want to be that person for you.
Yeah, like I've said, I've had guys that I've dated in the past that have said like it isn't a problem, and it typically will kind of become a little bit of a problem where they just won't be as comfortable with exactly what I'm doing. So I tend to tone it down. And I've said to guys before, like if I'm actually seeing you for kind of like a 1 or 2 week period, I might just give it a break, right? Because I want to make sure, like I want to give that relationship as much effort as I can without anything interfering with it. But I say to them, like, look, I'm not going to ever stop. When this becomes more serious, then we can have that conversation of toning it like down a lot more.
Right.
But I'm never going to leave the industry on the basis of a relationship. No matter how much I love you, it's going to be on my own terms. And at this point, I'm trying to build an empire. I want property. I want to set myself up. I don't want to retire early. Like I don't want to retire from just working in general early. So you're just going to have to wait for that time. And if you're not happy with waiting, then like that's a problem that you're going to have to deal with. And you knew coming into it that that's how it was going to be.
How long do you want to work till?
I'm going to ride the wave as long as it lets me. I don't know what I want to do afterwards. I've looked at studying. My dream job when I came out of high school was to be a flight attendant and then to be a travel agent because I love traveling and I love that lifestyle of one place one day, oh now I'm in the next, and then I love booking holidays. I love booking things for people. So I think I'd be great at that, but it just doesn't make it's not financially stable enough for me for the lifestyle that I'm living. So I can't do that until I am fully set up, and then I can do something that I like love. And don't get me wrong, I love doing this as well. Like
Yeah.
it allows me to do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I reckon that's probably what I'll end up doing, like way further down the line.
What do you do in your free time when you're not, when you're even, and I say this because like sometimes my free time I'm editing or,
Mm.
I'm, doing different things, making thumbnails, stuff like that. What do you do in your free time that's unrelated to your work?
I don't really ever get time. I think that because this job just doesn't turn off. So like even when I'm doing something that I like, I might get a text message like being like, "Hey, like, are you free to do an escort booking?" So like it just never turns off. But like in terms of hobbies, I am a big aviation geek. I love luxury travel. So like I'll look at all the different routes that I can take to get a business class ticket to go somewhere. And like I'll look like I'll go to the extent of like when I'm booking a flight or looking at them, I'll look at like the type of plane and I'll type in that plane name and then I'll type in like say it's United. I'll just type in the plane name and then United business class just to see what it's like, to see what I'd be getting. And I like frequently like look at the reward seats because I've got like all the different rewards plans and stuff because I fly so much. So
Yeah.
like I'm very much into aviation and luxury travel.
What's
But
the ones? There's ones where you can fucking lay down. They got like beds and stuff, don't they?
oh, that's the only way I fly. You
Really?
won't catch me. Yeah, you will not catch me on a plane unless I have a fucking lay flat bed. Tomorrow I fly from Auckland to Perth. It's an 8 hour flight, and there's no way you would catch me on an 8 hour fucking flight not laying down. I want my champagne brought to me as soon as I board. I want priority boarding. I want lounge access. I want chauffeurs to and from the airport. I want it all. So I have to work really hard in order to get there. I'm not at a private jet yet. That's it will come with time, but
That's got to be next. But no, I have the in America. I don't know if they have it in Australia or whatever, but it's the TSA pre-check. So it's
oh, that's one thing I wish I had.
you can basically skip the lines at the airport and you can go through TSA pre-check. You get through it very fast. It just keeps you from having to be at the airport so fucking early. I typically like to do priority boarding as well, unless I don't have a bag. If I'm not carrying a bag, 'cause a lot of times when I go places, I don't really go through the hassle of carrying a suitcase and stuff out because I'm usually there for a day. I just carry like a carry-on. And so I can get on and off. I don't like having to wait for the bags and shit like that. But that TSA pre-check, man, is a lifesaver. But I've never been on a plane where you could like lay down though. But I've never flown longer than like 4.5 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah, so I kind of deem lay flat beds and business class as like a 6 hour or more flight. So
Right.
anything before that normally, normally they don't even supply planes for with lay flat beds that are shorter than that.
Yeah.
But when you're flying, like when I'm flying from Sydney to LA, there's no way you would catch me walking onto that fucking plane without knowing that I'm up the front or on the second level of that plane with laying flat because I want that champagne. Like,
Yes. See, I've never even been in a plane that had 2 levels on it, I don't think.
I love it, an Airbus A380. They're great.
Yeah.
Give me Emirates first class. Ooh.
Yeah. I think the biggest one I'd been on was when I flew to Las Vegas, I think it was, or maybe LA. And it had 7, 6, so it had 2 on the outside and then 3 rows in the middle. So it was very wide. It was wide, but
Oh
it
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have a double. It wasn't double stacked.
Yeah, no, I love the double stacked ones because you don't feel anything in the air. Like you literally feel like you're gliding.
Yeah, I want to do that, but I've never went out of the country either. So it needs to be my.
I hear that with a lot of Americans. You
Yeah.
guys tend to stay in the country.
Well, no, I wouldn't mind leaving the country. For a while, I wasn't allowed to leave the country, so that was a restriction. I just went. I'm 40 years old. I just went on my first cruise.
Oh, that
Right
would be nice. I'm yet to do a cruise.
now, that's nice. I'm 41. Excuse me, and this was my first cruise. We went 2 days after Christmas, and I had a blast. I'm already like ready to go on the next one. I can't believe I waited that long. I mean, it's just like it's a fun fucking time, and there's stuff
Yeah,
always open. There's stuff always to do, always to eat. There's drinks. I mean, you get the drink packages. It's really nice. I
yeah.
had a blast on the cruise. So
Well, you guys are so close to Europe. Like for us in Australia, we have to fly like 24 to 30 hours just to get to Europe. So like you should be heading to Italy and France and all those places.
Italy is on my bucket list. I do want to visit Australia though. I think that would be neat.
I don't know if you'd be allowed in.
Yeah, why?
We have really strict immigration laws, like for visas. Um, I mean, give it a go. It's so beautiful. When I like leave the country, coming home, I like literally kiss the ground. I cry because I'm so happy to be home. It's so safe. It's like
So just to visit, they wouldn't let me in?
you'd have to check. They're very, very strict with everything.
Got a clean background now. Everything's good.
Even I get a lot of like I get scared to enter the US because the US immigration is also quite tight surrounding sex workers.
Right.
And if they Google my name, they know exactly what I do. So I don't lie. Like I completely tell them I'm like
I
content
remember
creator.
Katia contacted me one time when she was coming in and asked me
Mm,
to take our episode down or make it private just
mhm.
for that weekend that she was traveling in, and then I could put it back up.
Yeah, yeah. So we coming in through immigration. I don't know if I should say it, but oh well, it's fine. It's not huge. I mean, I am a dual citizen. I'm not. I haven't got all the like. I haven't signed all the documents, but I am like legally allowed to get dual citizenship.
Yeah.
But I take down all of my social media for like until I get through customs. So everything: Twitter, Instagram, Facebooks, websites, escorting ads. Everything goes down. Like there is just no trace of me besides the articles really online. You can probably search at my name, pictures come up, but like anything that is remotely saying that I have access to comes down. Um, because it's just scary. Like the American immigration hates sex workers, and right now it's a hotspot because you guys have the Avian Awards, which is the kind of like
Yeah.
porn awards of the US, and so everyone is going, and it's like, say if I was to fly there tomorrow, I would probably be detained and sent home. They'd probably find it.
Yeah. I know quite a few people that's up there right now. I got a buddy of mine that's a director. He was actually inducted into the Avian Hall of Fame as a director.
Oh,
Yeah. And he's still in
oh.
the industry. He shoots with a lot of girls. He does pictures. He's a photographer, director. He's great. His name's Ivan. So shout out to Ivan. The Russian Viking, they call him. Well,
But yeah, no, it's scary.
speaking of Twitters, Instagram, stuff like that, give us your social medias where everybody can go to track you down.
Oh God! For now, you can find me Instagram official K Manuel with 2 L's. Twitter is K Manuel with 3 L's. Um, onlyk.com is my domain, which you can basically access everything. So that will never go down. Onlyk.com, that's the one.
Well, that one we can't link because YouTube will give us a little pop on the hand for that, but we can put
Oh, I'm sure they will.
we can put the Instagram up there for the time being, and usually as everything is tied to that. Is there anything else you want to cover before we get out of here?
I think we've covered a nice amount of stuff.
We've done it. It's been fun. I like doing things like this with people to get a little bit of the industry, but also get a little bit more behind the scenes stuff like that people don't know about, like people taking over your accounts and trying to extort you for money, and just
Yeah.
things that people don't know about that you guys have to deal with, in the background.
Oh my, I employ 7 people, and I literally I have people on my payroll that are depending on me to work every single day,
Right.
and the amount of business expenses are fucking huge. So people think that you're making all this money, and yeah, you could be making $900,000 a year or $2 million, but my accountant told me that out of all of my income, it was like 79% of everything I made as a whole went back into the business or was a business expense. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, you'll keep people loyal to you that way too, though.
Yeah, but it's also building the brand, and you've got to invest. It's just like any company or business, you need to invest in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, whatever the podcast generates, generally, I usually pump back into it, either traveling somewhere to do something that's bigger, that's a little bit of PR, or getting a better camera, or getting better lighting, or whatever the case. I always pump it right back in. It's like, well, you're putting everything you make back into it. I'm like, yeah, but that's what you do until you get it to where you want it to go. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just
exactly.
for the business.
Yep, exactly right.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Kay. I've had a blast. Everybody go check her out on her Instagram. We'll link that to our show notes here, and maybe you might catch her while she travels. She does hit the U.S. quite a bit, so you never know. You might have to hit her up in the DMs and see if you can line
Spring
up.
break's coming up.
Spring break is coming up. Thank you, Kay, for stopping by Crab and Entertainment. We'll see you next time.